What's going on, everybody in the building, man? Today, guys, we have the full review of the Walther PPKs 32 ACP. Now, this is the brand new Walther that recently released, but it's actually the old school Walther, the original Walther PPK. Now, this is the PPKs, though. If you're wondering what that S is, it's basically the PPK with an extended, longer frame for a better grip, but also some additional rounds that can be utilized in that magazine. Now, originally, I believe it came in 7, but the PPKs, you get an additional round of 8. And one comes with a little pinky extended grip, while the other one comes in standard and with the flush mount for the PPKs right here. Now, of course, the PPK has been around for since the 60s, at least for the most part, off the top of my head. I mean, I have the paperwork right here. We got the transcripts, right? You got the transcripts. This is a very legendary model for Walther and just a humongous legacy that comes along with it. The time of its invention, I said 60 years. I meant that, I'm guessing I mean more so the 60s, or 80 years ago was when it originally came out. And it is the Police Pistol Criminal PPK. Now, the 32 ACP round is the original round of this model. And if you guys know, James Bond, of course, he carried himself a PPK, even up to the recent James Bond featuring Jordan Craig. And I mentioned how I grew up on Pierce Brosnan. He was my James Bond as a young preteen teenager, but I did also grow up watching some of the old James Bond movies featuring Sean Connery. My stepfather, rest in peace to him, put me on Goldfinger, so I've seen some of those movies as well. And of course, my time being GoldenEye, as well as The World Is Not Enough and Die Another Day. And of course, the 32 ACP, always being one of the main weapons utilized in all black, but this is the stainless steel version. But the PPKs is also releasing in its all black version as well. But before this bring back or retro of this firearm, there was of course the 380 that has been around and the 22 LR. You know, 32 ACP can be a little bit of a pricey round, about 40 cents a round. 380 can also be somewhere in there around 30 cents, I want to say, last time I checked. And 22 LR, you know, that's still cents to the dollar, so it's pretty affordable. If I had the choice, I would go with the original caliber. And I've shot the PD 380, right? 380, I mean, it still got a little bit of kick out of that small of a gun. I have not shot the PPK though in the 380 caliber, but I have shot it now since in the 32 ACP, and I love the way it feels. I love the way the recoil is non-existent, but it's also a very just nice round, pretty little round altogether. And one thing I noticed about it though is also a pretty slow round. You know, I believe it was a 77 grain that we were shooting, but if you actually watch some of the B-roll, it was slow enough to where you could see the projectile exiting the gun. I have not been able to really see that with any of my 9mm or any of my, of course, 5.56. I haven't checked about or looked into 45 ACP, but I was able to see this gun leave the projectile leave the barrel, which is a first for me when I was, you know, looking back at some of the footage. It does feature a decocker, which, from what I was reading here, at least, is probably the first decocker of its time, but you have a safety decocker, so it's in safe now. It cannot be fired, but of course, flipping it up, you are now in the double action, which is pretty strong. The double action is pretty strong. I remember when I was shooting it recently when I was out there filming, and we shot it in double action. It's one of those double actions that catch you off guard, and you're pulling, and it's like you got to pull to a certain degree. And you saw how I eased it off like that. I was pulling, it just snapped. It just went off. But it shot phenomenally. Somebody mentioned on the unboxing, and I'm gonna let you guys know about it. I did get caught in the very beginning with the, I think they called it the slide bite or rail bite. You got to position your hands pretty good here, because when that boy go back like this, if you got your hands like up too far off, this stainless steel hitting that part of your hand, it might bite you a little bit. But once I realized it, you know, I got my hand positioned how I wanted it, and I was good to go. Another thing that I noticed, at least from my position from shooting, is I like to grip my guns pretty firm on the slide to get a good grip. And with that 32 ACP round, it's shooting that projectile at 77, you know, grain. You gotta be a little bit nice with it. So I was starting to position a little bit lower, because gripping the grain too much would definitely put too much pressure on the slide, and for that small of a round, cause that slide to not be able to go all the way back like it wants to, and can cause, you know, that failure to feed, or a little bit of like stove piping of some sorts. But and it's hard. I don't know if I necessarily call it stove pipes, because, you know, with regular guns, you have your barrel at right here as well, that the stovepipe, I'm thinking of something sticking up, whereas on this one, of course, it's all on the side. So I guess he called it a stovepipe, but it was stuck out on the side. I had about 2 of those happen, but once I fixed my grip and got it to how I really wanted it, the issue was then no longer in existence. So just something to keep in mind if it's your first time shooting a PPK, or you think about grabbing one. You gotta get a little bit of a different grip than your typical firm high up grip if you want to go and grab onto that slide, because of this type of caliber. And I haven't shot this in 380, but from what I've seen, I think that this shoots way softer than the 380 round. Of course, a little bit more though than the 22 LR. It shoots great. That's just one thing for sure. I love the sight picture. It's a typical sight with a little red dot that is featured on the front of the sight, and then you have a little red dot on the back here. And what you basically do is line those guys up, and you're good to go. It comes in this special little box. Now, I don't know if, I think the other 380 versions and all that come in it as well, but it's a box you open up, and it's like this velvet material that fits the gun in perfectly, alongside with the additional magazine. And she's a beauty. If you want to learn more about the packaging and all that, go and check out my previous unboxing video. But this gun did release in the PPK and the PPKs version. So 4 different versions of this gun released, and all of them in 32 ACP. The PPK got the stainless steel in black, the PPKs got the stainless steel in black. As far as all the lineouts, like the layout on what the spec sheet says here, the capacity, 6 rounds for the PPK, and it says 7 rounds for the PPKs. Now that's what it says here on the technical data sheet, but there's 8 rounds in these magazines. So I don't know if that was an error or not, but these are 8-round magazines in both of them. They're the same one. The only difference is one has the pinky rest for the PPKs. Now, I don't know if the capacity of the PPK is 6, but the PPKs, this particular one, is 8. The overall length on all is the same, which is 6.1 inches. The overall height is where the difference is, of course, with the grip. You get a 3.8 overall height on the PPK and a 4.3 on the PPKs. The width is the same at 1 inch. The sight radius is the same at 4.3 inches. And the weight with the empty mag also was switched out, is the PPK is heavier than the PPKs. So there must have been some internals that were switched around maybe to make it better. I don't know, but it's 22.1 ounces on the PPK and 19 ounces on the PPKs. And trigger pull, your double action is the same on all as well as the single action. Your double action, 13.4 pounds on the double action. It's an old school gun, something you expect. We're not here looking for competition, you know, feel me? Like, no issue with that whatsoever. 6.1 pounds on the single action trigger, which is really good. You also have a 3.3 barrel on all 4 models with a 1 in 10 twist rate. 2 magazines included on all of them, and stainless steel and black on all of them. This is a gun, of course, for someone out there that, you know, loves a little bit of history, you know, someone that wants something specific to the original caliber on the PPK and wants to shoot it, or maybe you want to lock it away in a safe. It's really up to you at the end of the day. But I do know, I mean, seeing this gun for quite some time around at the gun stores, on YouTube, the PPK in 380 and 22, I've always seen the comment of, man, bring it back in its original caliber. Well, it's back, and it's here, 32 ACP. And this is definitely, I mean, when it originally released, was a breakthrough in concealable carry firearms. You know, it was one of the first out there, a firearm that you can carry concealed as a personal defense weapon. And fast forward now to 2024, 80 years later, it's still in a small, compact size. You know, yeah, you got models like this now that, you know, featured a 17 round, but for what it is, and you know, it's still a capable firearm to this day, in my opinion. You know, 32 ACP, definitely a smaller round. You could go with something more, but I mean, hey, that's for you to decide what you want to do at the end of the day. For me personally though, me loving James Bond, me loving Walther, and me just loving this beautiful PPK, I'm happy to have it into the collection, and I'm also happy just to shoot it. I'm not gonna let Dusk get in. She gonna come out and she gonna talk every once in a while. But yeah, PPK by Walther and 32 ACP. She back, baby. She back. Let me know you guys' thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them away. I'm here. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all as always. And I'm out. Peace.